Witches of Sin. The Witches of Sin, Taizai Meijo, is a term in the Re-Zero world, used for a set of individuals who were previously tasked with governing over each of the 7 deadly sins. We currently only have information regarding the individuals who were the last ones associated with the said term: 7 women who governed over greed, goyoku, pride, gumen, wrath, fundo, gluttony, bashoku, sloth, taida, lust, shikioku, and envy, shito, as well as 2 individuals who govern over vainglory, kaioshiku, and melancholy, yuatsu, the 2 archaic sins. History. The last known main 7 witches of sin were active 4 centuries ago before 6 of them died, leaving the Witch of Envy the only one standing. At roughly the same time as the other witches' demises, an unspecified event happened which caused the Witch of Envy to go on a bloody rampage, destroying half of the world in an event that would soon become known as the Great Calamity. In order to stop her from completely destroying the world and not slaughtering the entire population of that time, the first sword saint, the divine dragon, the sage, and the sage's apprentice formed an alliance and defeated the Witch of Envy. Due to Satella's immortality, however, the heroes were unable to kill her, so they opted for a different way of stopping her, sealing the Witch of Envy in a shrine made out of evil sealing stones, which is located near the Pleiades watchtower in the Auguria sand dunes, and was watched over by the sage's apprentice, where she had been located for the last 400 years. Following the events of Arc 6, the partial ruin of the watchtower and Shala's loss of humanity, the tower and the witch's shrine are currently being protected by the divine dragon resting at the very top of the tower. The Witch of Vainglory, having likely survived the ordeal, continues to wander the world in pursuit of her own goals, whilst the Warlock of Melancholy seemingly disappeared from historical records and hasn't been spotted, noted or referenced in any major ways for decades, if not centuries. Information. Well before the Great Calamity, the concept of witches governing over the 7 deadly sins wasn't unheard of, though it is not known who the previous witches were, when they lived, what their personalities were, what their legacy is, or when and how they perished. Roughly 400 years ago, Sekhmet, Typhon, Daphne, Carmilla, Minerva, Echidna and Satella roamed the world. They were considered calamities due to their actions and their consequences. Typhon went around different towns and cities killing everyone who deemed themselves a sinner. Carmilla was the cause of countless unnecessary deaths of people who accidentally laid eyes on her, and with every usage of Minerva's authority of wrath, a natural disaster hit a random location in the world. While not necessarily evil at heart, they were directly or indirectly the cause for many hardships and catastrophes. Perhaps the least calamitous witches were Echidna and Sekhmet, as Echidna spent her days satisfying her greed, learning new things and acting as an all-knowing encyclopedia for people all around the world. Sekhmet spent her days in languid sloth, not moving a muscle and not causing any disasters despite her being the second strongest of the witches. The witches shared a rather intricate and at times wholesome relationship. Typhon regarded Sekhmet as her mommy, and often bathed her since the latter couldn't bother with such trivial chores. At least once per year, all 7 witches got together and had a calming tea party hosted by Echidna, which always took place in a different location in the world. It goes without saying that the area usually suffered a huge disaster and all the people in the large vicinity had to evacuate for safety reasons. Occasionally, a witch would go on a rampage, destroying entire towns and areas, killing hundreds or thousands of innocent people, directly or indirectly. Typhon was the most prone to such behavior since her childish view of the world and her values often conflicted with the common mindset. Sekhmet was usually sent to calm her down, but she usually did more harm than good, more often than not doubling or tripling the damage and deaths. Daphne often went on rampages, eating everything in existence similar to the Usagi. With her authority of lust clouding everyone's minds to the point of creating instant chaos and or killing them in a matter of minutes, Carmilla inadvertently turned peaceful areas into devastated war zones with many casualties in their wake, toppling larger cities one after another. Each witch has 2 image colors that represent them. Echidna's were white and black, Minerva's were blue and white, Sekhmet's were black and gray, Daphne's were black and purple, Typhon's were blue and green, Carmilla's were red and pink, Pandora's are gold and white, and Hector's are gold and brown. In the end, each witch met their end in very different ways, with most of them not being connected with Satella's rampage. Typhon drowned when she was trapped within Priestella's defenses. Sekhmet fell off the great waterfall while fighting the divine dragon. Daphne starved to death in the Auguria sand dunes. Minerva was lured into a trap by a group of elves that were sent by an unnamed person. She ended up going mad and subsequently died at the hands of Satella, during the Great Calamity. Carmilla burned to death in an unspecified location. Echidna later collected their souls and went to the sanctuary where Volcanica sealed her off in her tomb. Her death has not been stated yet. Currently, only the locations of Typhon and Echidna's remains are known. Typhon's remains are located in the Great Temple under the Watergate city of Priestella, and Echidna's resting place is located in the Witch of Greed's tomb located in the sanctuary. Despite their status as calamities, the witches left quite a legacy after their deaths, with 3 in particular memory. Echidna created a lot of meteors that are used to the current day, namely by people who are unable to channel magic. Daphne's legacy is perhaps the most destructive and negative, as she was directly responsible for the creation of all demon beasts. Despite good intentions, Daphne failed to understand or even consider common mindset and morals, creating a plethora of monsters that would go on to do everything other than what they were created for. Instead of solving famine and hunger, the beasts have destroyed towns and larger cities, leaving many areas uninhabitable. The 3 great demon beasts have proven the most disruptive by far, ravaging the lands of the known world for centuries. Typhon, on the other hand, seems to be rather popular in certain cities all over the world, as she has a cult following from a criminal organization situated in Flanders. There's generally one rule of thumb that everyone has been keeping in mind: do not publicly talk about other witches besides Satella, and avoid publicly announcing the possession of a witch-related artifact. The witch cult does not tolerate any other witch besides the aforementioned Witch of Envy. While they do acknowledge their existence, the witches themselves, even their names, are taboo, and violating that said taboo will lead to a very painful and often fatal judgment. Perhaps the best and most well-known example of that would be the Garkla incident, which occurred 15 years before the start of the main story, when the infamously unbreachable Valachian fortress city of Garkla was single-handedly besieged and destroyed by the Sin Archbishop of Greed, despite being garrisoned by thousands of soldiers and the Valachian war god, all thoroughly prepared for battle. Rumor has it that a witch-related artifact was being auctioned in the city square. It's unknown whether the rumor was true or if someone just made it up so they could bring the witch cult to the city, but the unprecedented incident serves as a warning to the 4 great nations to this day. Throughout the years, people developed some common misconceptions regarding the witches, specifically regarding the Witch of Envy. Perhaps the most common mistake people make is contributing the creation of the demon beasts to the aforementioned witch, common belief being that she created them in order to clean the world and get rid of humanity, which is untrue, as Daphne is the true creator of the demon beasts with an entirely different purpose in mind. Rumors like these spawn further questions of just what other false information is circling around the world regarding the witches. Alongside the aforementioned witches of sin, 2 more made their rare appearances: Hector of Melancholy and Pandora of Vainglory. Contrary to other members of the Witches of Sin, there is next to no written historical information about them, not even their current statuses. Hector's one and only appearance predates the Great Calamity, and Pandora's last appearance can be traced back to the failed subjugation of the White Whale and the previous generation's Sword Saint's death from 15 years before Subaru's arrival. On top of that, Pandora seems to be working with the witch cult, being heavily connected with their activities and overall intentions through the last 4 centuries, using the Sin Archbishops to carry out her biddings. Members: Current Witch of Envy, Satella. Witch of Greed, Echidna. Witch of Wrath, Minerva. Witch of Sloth, Sekhmet. Witch of Gluttony, Daphne. Witch of Pride, Typhon. Witch of Lust, Carmilla. Witch of Vainglory, Pandora. Warlock of Melancholy, Hector. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.